Ay, 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 ugayam, galayaman, ugayam, galayaman. Anakanin nandat daton, kanigan ganason, di kultura ang dilubong ugayam.
Who is a Filipino? What makes a Filipino a Filipino? Is there really a distinct Filipino identity? But first, what is identity?
All believe that one's identity can be thought of as that particular set of traits, beliefs, and allegiances that, in short or long-term ways, gives one a consistent personality mode of being. Thus, the Filipino identity sets them apart from other people.
But how?
This video presents the Filipino identity, our identity, and discussion of different philosophical concepts, 3 dimensions of the self, John Locke's theory, Descartes, and such, in connect with the Filipino identity. Identity of a Filipino. How can you say a Filipino is a Filipino?
How can you say a Filipino is a Filipino?
Some say that it's with the physical attributes, for example, with their skin color. Filipinos are described as kayumanggi, same as the color of their eyes, height that varies between 4'9" to 5'7", and their noses are pango. The general and most generic response to this question is to answer it with the idea of citizenship and nationality, place of birth, marriage, migration, and such.
Why is it so difficult for Filipinos to have an identity?
The Filipino identity has been a questionable topic. With all the countries that colonized Philippines, Spain, America, and Japan, and their influences in governing, education, religion, history, and even culture, no wonder that the Filipino identity is questioned.
But how do you define a Filipino's identity in a philosophical perspective?
Self as consciousness, sourced from memories. John Locke, an English philosopher, argued that the self is that part of the mind that remembers the past. The self was not the whole of consciousness, but a specific part of the mind, namely, our memory. No matter what happens, whether you choose to change your appearance, cut your hair short, become taller, your likes and dislikes change, or you prefer the things that you don't like before to be the things that you like now. The physical appearance might change, but as long as our memories are still intact with us, it still happens to be us.
Source from emotions. Considering that we are talking about memories, we can connect those memories with emotions. Just like in the movie, Inside Out, a girl named Riley is controlled by 5 different emotions. Emotions that influence Riley's attitude, actions, and even her memories. Blaise Pascal once said, "The heart has its reasons, of which reason knows nothing." Moreover, the very idea that our emotions make us do such and such is under scrutiny, to a larger extent that we usually realize we are responsible for our emotions. In reality, emotions and memories make us who we really are. Even though we change our Filipino features, or we do not want to have Filipino features anymore, it is still us because our Filipino values, beliefs, and memories are still in us. Our memories, attitudes, and even our decisions are shaped by our experiences that no one can steal.
3 dimensions of the self.
What makes a Filipino a Filipino?
From Hall, the self is divided into 3 dimensions. First dimension, bodily. In this dimension, the self is locked in bodies and formed by whatever the body needs. Second dimension, relational. The self in this dimension has a relation with the society. Whatever kind of relationship we have with the society defines the self. Last dimension, reflective. On this dimension, the self manages its own realization, creates its own identity based on its attitude and beliefs, and the director of its own actions.
Bodily. The Filipino self originally has its own body. The Filipino brand, Kayumangi, Katamtamang Tangkad, and Pango. But today, Filipino wants to have the Western beauty, such as white complexion, high bridge nose, and to be tall. Being a Filipino is not only measured by appearance. We can all be a Filipino, Filipino by heart.
Relational. The societal events before defines the Filipino self today. Modern Filipinos are children of the ancient Filipinos. If not for them, Filipinos are undefined. One of the Filipino strengths is that they are flexible. They have the ability to adapt to life in any part of the world and the ability to accept change.
Reflective. Who am I? Why did I do that? Am I really like this? Did I make the right choices? Building a Filipino identity implies disposing the weaknesses and developing the strengths. Filipinos should investigate themselves unbiasedly and in a logical way. They should see their own as a lover viewing a loved one, but also as might a judge capable of a harsh verdict. They should not act naturally weeping, but rather would they be able to bear to be guarded. The reflective self is more on the personal aspect of the Filipino self than the Filipino's identity in general.
Filipino as a person based from errors. What makes up a Filipino person? Since we are discussing the Filipino identity on a personal aspect, Descartes believed that the life of man is very often subject to error. Failures and wrong decisions makes up a person. Filipinos commit errors. In other words, Filipinos are humans. Absolutely humans. Forget about being perfect. The new perfect is growing and learning from all the failures and imperfections.
Who is a Filipino? What makes a Filipino a Filipino? Is there really a distinct Filipino identity?
If Filipinos were just influenced by the countries who colonized them, then they are just copying what they taught them to do so. Then why is it so difficult for Filipinos to have identity? In Mulder's article argued that Filipinos lack patriotism and self-esteem. Filipinos are miseducated, and Filipinos have colonial mentality.
Filipinos might lack at patriotism, miseducated, and have colonial mentality. But that does not signify the lost one one's identity. Yes, Philippines might be colonized by different countries and might have adopted negative traits, but some of the values that ancestors thought remained intact. Filipinos are not perfect. Nobody is. But that does not mean we do not have characteristics and values that we can be proud of. Filipinos have good qualities, values, beliefs. That's something to be proud of. Being a true Filipino lies in the heart and mind of every Filipino. Even if the mind forgets, the heart never will.